Mr. Ramesh Subramaniam, Director General and Group Chief at Asian Development Bank. Thank you very much indeed for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Today we heard about the announcement of a joint statement on the Baku Initiative on Human Development for Climate Resilience and Baku Guiding Principles on the Human Development for Climate Resilience. In the context of this joint statement and in terms of what you are doing yourself, what are the opportunities there for human and social development when it comes to climate change related matters?
Thank you so much, Orkan, for this opportunity to chat with you. Before I respond to your question, can I put in an overall plug for COP29? It's been an amazing COP. I've been to 6th COP. It's been really well organized. So sincere appreciation to the host country, Azerbaijan, and the presidency, particularly for taking on a number of initiatives as part of COP29. Among all the others, the arrangements are fantastic, and also particularly I wanted to appreciate the role of the student volunteers. It's been amazing, you know, the green-coated people who guide you and the breadth and depth of what is being covered. Now, on to your question, the initiative as well as the Baku guiding principles on human development, they are, I would call, as was noted in the morning when the principles were launched, the initiative and the principles were launched, it's quite historic because for the first time ever in COP's history, human development has been taken as a priority and the whole day is dedicated Human Development Day. Health was taken earlier in the context of COP26, and then in COP28 there was a dedicated health day. But what Azerbaijan has done is to bring in other dimensions of human development. As you know, education, overall well-being, social development, social protection, and many other aspects of how climate interfaces with dimensions of human development. All of these have been brought together. As you would know, there are 12 guiding principles, and we, like them from Asian Development Bank point of view, we wholeheartedly support the guiding principles because they're very comprehensive in nature. On what you asked, how do the different subsectors take education or health or social protection, social development, how do they interface with climate? You know, clearly climate is influenced by a lot of factors that we all know. The social sectors or human development arenas have an impact both ways. Like, for example, education, better skills, better productivity, you know, more qualified labor certainly could be making a positive difference for climate change through green skills for green economy. Now, at the same time, education is also badly affected by climate change. You know, I come from the part of Asia, Southeast Asia, which is on the ring of fire. As we've seen during various times of natural disasters, education is badly affected. Well, COVID-19, worldwide education was affected. So climate has a direct impact. Health, as we know, there is impact of health on climate as well as climate on health. So we need to understand both the flows. Social development, clearly in terms of how the particularly people in vulnerable situation, the poor and the vulnerable, women included, children in many cases, particularly in low-income situations, how are they supported through social development systems also means a lot in terms of protecting them against the vulnerabilities of climate change. So there are lots of touch points, and if you ask me, in fact, without exaggerating the focus on human development too much, this is core for what we are looking at. Of course, you know, better infrastructure is very critical. You know, better food systems will be very critical. But we are doing all of this for human beings, right? So from that point of view, human development, that core focus is so vital.
Thank you very much indeed for explaining to us in a very clear and simple way this intricate relationship between human development and climate change, this complex landscape. My second question is going to be about specific commitments related to Asian Development Bank. What are the specific elements there?
For the Asian Development Bank, you know, given that at the ADB we say the battle against climate change will be won or lost in the Asia and the Pacific, because Asia contributes to GHG emissions, but also affected badly by the impact of climate change through natural disasters that we have seen. So we are, as the Climate Bank of Asia and the Pacific region, we have an overall financing commitment cumulatively going from 2019 to 2030 of $100 billion. We've been doing roughly in the past about $9 billion or so on average, $9 billion of new financing. This year we are likely, 2023 we were slightly less than $10 billion, both public and private sector support, and it is likely to ratchet up so that we reach cumulatively $100 billion. Now, in addition, our shareholders under the G20 leaders call for multilateral development banks to be bigger, bolder and better or more effective. We were amongst the first multilateral development banks to go through a new capital adequacy framework. What it has done is to give us 40% more lending capacity every year, meaning we can go from $26 billion every year up until 2023 by $10 billion to $36 billion. And we can do this for the next 10 years, which is a phenomenal source of support of an additional $100 billion to come. So what we have done to guide this is to go through a change in our internal structure to focus a lot more on climate change. And also the role of the private sector is very, very critical. Climate and private sector, in terms of public and private sector working together, can combat the effects of climate change. So in the human development context, our education support is roughly in the order of about 7% of our annual commitment. So say slightly around $2 billion, less than $2 billion or so. Health is a comparable amount. But with the additional resources available and with the overarching human development priorities, including the ones that are highlighted in the Baku principles, we expect to increase our education investments, for example, to about 10%. So that will be going about $3 billion over a period of time. Health investments, after the pandemic, our health investment have gone up. There we have developed an initiative, as I mentioned earlier, under the last year's COP28, and today we had a fantastic event just before coming to this interview. The 5 COP presidencies came together to recognize the importance of climate and health initiative, including Azerbaijan providing its support. For climate and health initiative, we will provide dedicated support. For example, take existing health facilities, which in many countries, they're in a pretty bad state of affairs. If you look at the infrastructure, so can we upgrade them? Can we make them more green facilities? And it's not just the infrastructure, but you also need to make the entire health value chain. Look at the pharmaceutical chain, look at the healthcare supply chain. All of them you need to green the entire value chain. So we will be looking at this overall. Social development, social protection, vulnerabilities of the challenges that are faced by poor segments of the population, and including women and children. There is data that clearly shows that women are affected 14 times more in times of natural disasters, in terms of climate disasters. In fact, they're likely to die 14 times more. Now that's a monumental figure. What is it that we can do to combat the effects of that through adequate livelihood support as well as other means of support, so they are protected against the impact of climate change? So under the climate and health initiative and the social development dimensions coming together, we will be providing a lot more support in the coming years. Finally, last point, somewhat related to this, food security and how food systems are resilient to climate change is also very, very important, and that's got an impact on social development, because particularly if you're looking at low-income households and the poor, children get very poor nutrition. So can we have food security for the poor? Can we get nutritious food for the poor? Has got a huge impact on human development. So climate change has got a direct as well as an indirect effect. So these are the pathways. Our commitment would be in the billions of dollars. And ADB also is a unique institution in terms of having a single balance sheet covering our public and private sector operations. So we work together very closely in terms of creating the enabling environment for more private investments to come. So ADB, private sector operations, would be investing in many of these areas so that we can get more private investments coming in addition to the public sector support that we provide Orkan.
Thank you very much indeed. And in terms of just going beyond your specific commitments as Asian Development Bank, in terms of the decisions that are going to be taken here within this COP29, do you expect a considerable increase in terms of investments in green jobs, in low carbon schools, in climate education?
We are quite optimistic. Clearly this, as I mentioned, it's quite historic that human development focus is there. And going beyond the typical COP troika, where the past, the present and the future, the three come together. Now we have, for the first time, I think to my knowledge, the 5 presidencies have come together for the Climate and Health Initiative. So we believe, and also the challenges that are, pandemic has really thrown the issues wide open in terms of access to education being, severely affected. Health obviously has been severely affected. Social development systems have been definitely affected as well. So in order for us to continue and keep our support sustained, I think Azerbaijan COP29 will play a very critical role. Of course, the financing needs are quite significant. As you know, the multilateral development banks a couple of days ago came together, and we have this overarching $120 billion of commitment that we provided, and that will play a significant role in providing more support for human development priorities as well, going beyond the infrastructure and the other support that we will provide. So I'm very optimistic. We all need to work together. Partnership. No one country, no one institution alone can meet the challenges on its own. It's very, very important to work together across a wide range of partners in the development ecosystem.
Hopefully collectively will rise to the occasion. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Ramesh Subramaniam.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.